Hi Redesigners, it's Cece from Cece Restyled, and it's Thursday, it's noon, so I'm hopping on here to do some redesign with Prima things. And I want to show you some of the, I have a couple of the new release transfers I want to show you, like 3. And we're going to cut and apply and place these, some more transfers on this piece right here. So what you're looking at is a chest of drawers. And the birds up here you see in the top corner, those are all from one of the new transfers. I'm sorry, I don't remember the name of it, but it's all butterflies, and then there's a few little wildflowers sprinkled in the transfer design too. I didn't end up using the little flowers, but it's mostly butterflies, and then you see like a little moth. There's moths. I have a thing for moths lately. I love moths, or winged things, really. Winged thingies. So that is one of the new release transfers. I'm sorry, I don't remember the name of it. Roz, she probably knows the name of this one. I'm spacing it right now, but it does have a name. Okay, so, and then I used an older transfer right here through the middle, or part of it. It's I just wanted some text for some texture, you know, in my background. Butterfly Dance, yes, that's it. Butterfly Dance. Such a pretty name. So dainty. Butterfly Dance. But yes, they're dancing butterflies. Beautiful. I love the butterfly dance. It's so pretty. So, ooh, each one is just so pretty and colorful and like different. Like, ooh, look at that one with the spots. And that one with the little circle. Oh, they're all so pretty and so different. Like, you could use these butterflies for so many different things. Like, mix them up with so many different elements. Like, the possibilities are really endless. Same with the birds. The birds transfer is the same too. You could do just about anything. Plop a bird on it and it'll fit. Again, I cut the text out of this transfer here. I don't remember the name of it either. But it's some black text. It did have kind of like a flowery frame around it, and I'm going to be adding some more flowers, so I was like, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of those around the frame. I wanted some texture through here, so I added that text, texty texture. So now we're going to, I'm going to show you a couple more of the new release transfers that I haven't used, and I don't foresee myself using them real soon. I just don't have a project in mind for them, but I wanted to show them to you anyways. You may have seen this one. It's called Floral Court. Okay. Let me try to get it. Just kidding. I can't even tell where the tape is around it. It's called Floral Court. Okay. It reminds me of kind of like wallpaper, or like a pattern on fabric or something like that. It's just a pattern with flowers. It's a little vintagey looking, so see that? I could see myself, really, Mike, that sounds fun. I could see myself kind of cutting out the little flowers and using them on like a jewelry box or something small, or maybe the pattern on the sides of a the sides of a drawer, or the inside of a cabinet door or something like that, or I mean, I could definitely see all of those uses. So there's one, Floral Court. And then the other one I want to show you is, it's super cute. Again, I don't have a project in mind for it because I just can't seem to, nothing has come to mind yet, but there will be something. I guarantee it, something will pop up that this is perfect for me. And it is called, I don't remember what this one's called either. Roz, if you're still hanging out, maybe you surely know. I'm sure it's called Farm something. Farm something. Okay, so it's got all these animals. Look at that little chickens, hens. And then you've got a piggy. Look at the little piggies. Look at him. I will definitely probably use that piggy for something. I gotta wait for the perfect project though. I love it. I love the little piggy. Look, it says oink oink in the bottom. Look at the bottom corner. It says oink oink. I know I'm gonna use that for something. You can count on that. And it's a 2-page transfer. It comes in 2 sheets. So the other sheet has a horse and little apples. Like, obviously I'm going to use that one. This is the first time I opened this one up and looked at it really, really closely. I love all the text that is included in it. Text is really good for adding texture to your background or just some kind of movement or interest to your piece, you know, rather than just plopping one image directly on the front. You know, you add some of the other elements to make it really interesting. And I love the horses. And then here's some cows. These are not necessarily the most appealing to me, the cows, but they have their place for sure. So there's the cows. But the horse and the pig are so cute. I love the horse and the pig. So we're definitely going to have to make use of those. But, and again, I don't remember what that one is called. Farm something. So there's a couple of the new release transfers that you may or may not have already seen. Or at least maybe not seen the whole thing. So now I'm going to be using, I don't know where my tape went. I'm going to be using an older transfer. I think it's from a couple releases ago, if I remember right. So maybe sometime earlier this year. It's called Wondrous Floral. Wondrous Floral. And like if I had to pick one transfer that I could use for the rest of my life, and only one transfer I could use for the rest of my life, it would be Wondrous Floral. And the reason for that is because it is these big, beautiful, a variety of flowers, okay? And it comes in, like, there's so many different colors, okay? There's a color to match everything. There's oranges and yellows and periwinkles and green and blue and white and red, and every color of the rainbow is in this transfer. So depending on what I'm doing, I could cut out what I needed and place it as I needed and save the rest for another project, which I have probably like six of these tubes, and they're all chopped up and cut up, but I save the rest and I fit the pieces of what I didn't use from on one project to the next project. So very utilitarian, I would say, this transfer. So it's a good one. So like you saw a minute ago, I went ahead and I put the new Butterfly Dance. I almost forgot the name of it again. Butterfly Dance is up in our corner here, okay? Butterfly Dance. They are dancing all up the top corner of this piece. And then the one in the middle, an older transfer. And now I'm going to add Wondrous Floral to this bottom corner, okay? So I'm going to point you down here a little bit. So I'm going for balance, all right? So I've got one corner very heavy with butterflies, and it's very heavy on this side, visually heavy. And I want to balance that out with some flowers around here, okay? So what I want to do is kind of come, you know, maybe down here and in this corner, maybe just a couple peeking up over here. To balance out my piece, okay? I need to add some visual weight on this side. So I could do, you know, I could do a stencil here. I could do some, like, oh, what are those called? They grow in ponds. You know, those things that come up out of the edges of ponds. What the heck are those called, man? I can't remember. But anyways, you know, I could paint that. I could paint grasses or trees. You know, anything to balance out this side of the my piece. So, but I'm going to choose flowers because there's lots of colors, and this piece is very colorful. So I'm going to keep on with that theme, and I'm going to add some Wondrous Floral, and I'm going to do a little bit of chopping up. So I painted this piece, and this is the bare paint. Okay, so you don't need to seal your paint before you add a transfer. I see that question a lot. Is it, you know, people ask, is it paint, seal, transfer, seal, or paint, transfer, seal, or what? I mean, if you've already sealed your piece and you want to put a transfer on as an afterthought, that's okay. As long as your sealer is completely cured, you can put a transfer on it. But you don't need to intentionally seal it and then you know, knowing you're going to put a transfer on top of it. It's just an extra step and kind of a waste of product. So this is bare paint, and I'm going to go ahead and open up my transfer, and as you can see, I've already chopped some pieces out of it. Like I told you, I like to kind of pick and choose what I want. I cherry pick my transfers, but you can see most of it is here. It's a very, very colorful, lush, fun, happy transfer. So, so there's some of the flowers in it. Isn't that pretty? This flower right here is one of my favorites out of all the transfer. I wish I could get a transfer of all just that flower right there. I'd be happy. I'd be a happy lady. But there's big flowers, little flowers, roses, peonies, you know, whatever my favorite flower is. I'm not sure what that's called. I mean, there's just all different flowers, all different colors. I mean, if that doesn't make you happy, I don't know what does. Oh, that's the same sheet over again. And then here's another part of it. As you can see, I've already mutilated this one a little bit, but there's those. And whatever that flower is right there is really pretty. I don't know what it's called. Some berry looking things, little berries or whatever they are. So what I'm going to do is start in this corner and kind of build outwards. So I need to place a chunk that is fairly large and has just like a good amount of mass, I guess, to fill up that space. So I think I'm going to go with this chunk here, because when I'm looking at it, this chunk here doesn't really contain my favorite flowers in it. They're okay. I like them, but they're not my favorite, except for this little guy. They're not my favorite. So I'm going to use it kind of as a filler, right? So I'm going to use it as a filler to start building up on my corner. And then I'll take the rest of my flowers and kind of pick and choose which ones I want. Might play favorites, might not. And I'm going to go out that way and up this way. And we're just going to create a little floral corner, okay? So let's see. So from my cutting and chopping previously, you can see how the edges are not they don't really make sense. Like I can't lay it on there with like this little petal chopped off and those little berries with no stem. So I'm gonna just kind of clean up that edge and make it appear a little bit more. Oh, Dutch tulip. Okay then, I don't know anything about tulips, but they're pretty. So I'm just gonna kind of clean up this edge of the transfer so that when I place it, it does not look like I just kind of chopped it out and cut it up. You know what I'm saying? So anything that doesn't like have a stem or it looks like it's cut off, I'm just going to get rid of. So that's pretty easy. So let's see. Let's go ahead and get rid of this guy. Okay, so see now how my edge is looking a little more organic, a little more natural. I've got, yeah, I think that's it. So I want to, let's see, point it down a little bit. I want to place it first, kind of roughly where I want it, okay? I'm thinking that I can come about to here. I might cut off some of these little wispy wildflowers. I want it to look like it's kind of spilling over the edge. So I'm going to line it up first where I want it. You're also going to see how to deal with transferring over drawer seams too, okay? Because you see how like my transfer is going to cover a couple different drawers. So I see people ask that every once in a while, like how do I deal with drawers? Do I do them separate? Do I cut first and then place? Do I place the transfer and then cut it? Well, you can do it really a number of ways, whatever is easiest for you. In the past, if I'm applying one transfer, I've measured the front of the drawer, cut the transfer to fit, and then placed it. And then the next piece, measure that, cut it, place it. So that's one way. It would be a little bit hard to do that the way I'm applying my transfer, since I'm cutting and chopping and kind of manipulating them to, you know, look how I want. So I'm going to apply first, and then I'm going to cut. But I'll show you how I do it. So I'm going to go ahead and take my fingernail right here around this crease, and I'm going to kind of crease it where I want to cut it. So over the drawer seams, I'm going to cut after I apply the transfer. But the sides, I'm gonna go ahead and cut those first so I can make sure they fit and line up my elements how I want. Foxtail mate, but maybe. That might be a proper name for them, but there's like maybe a slang term for those things that come out of the water. You know, they kind of look like hot dogs on a stick. You know what I'm talking about? I'm spacing the name of them. They look like hot dogs on a stick, and they come up out of the edges of lakes and ponds and stuff. I don't know. That's probably gonna bother me all day long. So I'm gonna take my fingernail and just kind of crease where I'm gonna cut it. You can take a Sharpie or a marker and draw right there in the line where you want to cut it. Okay, that's one option. You can pull your drawers out and you can wrap the transfer around the sides. Those are just two options for kind of cutting that to conform around this little curve here, okay? But I just use my fingernail. Okay, so now that I've got it fairly shaped how I want, I'm going to go ahead and just fit it again, make sure it's going to work how I want it to. Make sure I cut it right, and it looks like it'll work. Wait, hold on. I may have cut, I may need to cut just a little tiny piece off this bottom here. All right, there we go. That will work. Okay, so it fits. Now I'm going to go ahead and remove my backing paper carefully, okay? I'm not going to just rip it off like a Band-Aid. I'm just going to separate it off carefully. And once you get to this point where you have the back of the adhesive part of the transfer exposed, you want to be gentle with it because it will stick to anything and everything that you don't want it to. So you want to be just gentle. Don't touch the adhesive if you can help it. All right, so gently place it around where it's going to go. And then once you have it where you believe is correct, the correct placement, everything's lined up, everything's, you know, looking good, or straight if you need it to be straight, like if it's text, right? So at this point, you can go ahead and just start to press it down to get it to start sticking and commit to the location. And then I'm going to just rub it kind of firmly with my palm or my fingers or whatever to get it to, you know, start adhering. So the transfers themselves come with a little wooden stick for application. They're kind of like a little tongue depressor almost kind of thing. And you just, you know, you can use those to apply your transfer. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with them. They work just fine. However, I am going to use my transfer tool here. A handy dandy transfer tool. It's just a little luxury, a little accessory to help make applying your transfers a little bit easier. It's not a necessity, but I choose this. So if you want to go treat yourself for a couple bucks, go get you a transfer tool. They make things a little bit easier. Like as you can see, they've got one side that's smaller for more like concise, you know, areas, and then there's this bigger, wider tip for big areas. And then on the edges of the wider tip, there's these little hook kind of jobbies, almost like hooks. And hey Dustin, hey everybody, thank you for hopping on and saying hey. The little hooks are good for going around drawers, edges, trims, bevels, things like that. So super handy dandy. I usually use my fingernail, but you know, I can use this instead of my fingernail, because from what I hear, fingernails are jewels, not tools. I didn't know that. I always use my fingernails as tools, so oops. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and just start rubbing on my transfers with my transfer tool or stick, whichever you prefer or whichever you have on hand. Okay, I like to go both ways, so I'll start one way and then I'll go over it the other way. So up And it takes some pressure. You got to be firm with it. Let it know who's boss. Okay, the other way. And then, so let's go ahead and start rubbing on this bottom drawer here. Now that I have around the seam like pretty much applied for the most part, I'm gonna go ahead and cut the seam. You wanna cut the seam while you have your backing paper on. You don't wanna peel it off and then cut it because it will just turn to a raggedy, sticky mess. The backing paper keeps the transfer firm enough to where you can cut a straight line, and then I want to cut it. I want to try to split the middle of my drawer. So my drawers are fairly butted up together, but there's a little space in between, as you can see. So I want to use a sharp knife, and make sure it is a sharp knife because that's kind of important. I want to use my sharp knife, and I'm going to kind of split the center of the seam as best I can. Go right down the center as best you can. It doesn't have to be perfect. And at that point, I can take can you guys see very well what I'm doing? This is kind of like a close-up type deal, so I'm going to move you up closer. Because I see a lot of questions about how to do this, and it's easy to mess up splitting seams. So, so I've cut right down the center of my seam, and then I'm going to take my fingernail or my little hook on my handy dandy transfer tool, and I'm gonna kind of tuck up underneath that first drawer. And you can do this with the drawers out of the piece. It's kind of hard for me live to do it with it out without it like standing up straight, so that's why I do it this way. But you can take them out. You just want to roll it underneath, and like I can see my little hook jobby on the end. I can just go like that around under it, and that works for that. And I'll show you how it comes out. Okay, so I'm going to take my backing paper, slowly peel it away. If there's areas that have not quite stuck yet, you want to just go back over them real quick with your little tool or stick. Okay, so there is that. Now I'm gonna go underneath it, and now I'm gonna just go over it one more time with my fingernail. I'm not gonna use the tool because it's plastic. I don't want to rip anything, so I'm just gonna use my finger, and I'm gonna go underneath that, make sure that it's rolled underneath, tucked around, and applied and secured and adhered really well. Okay, so it feels as though it is. So I'm going to take my finger and I'm going to rub over the rest of the transfer. You can use your palm too for bigger areas, but I'm going to use my finger for the most part, and I'm going to make sure the whole transfer is applied, no bubbles, no wrinkles. I like to go around the edges where there's that kind of clear line and make sure that it's pressed in there really well for a couple of reasons. A, you see the little clear edge sometimes, and when you rub that in really well, which is called burnishing. Burnishing just means to rub in really well, or to rub really well. Burnish that in, and it disappears somewhat, and whatever does not disappear from burnishing will, for the most part, disappear when you seal the piece. Now there's some colors that just no matter what you do, you can see that halo, and that's kind of a bummer. But if that's the case, you can take a a Scotch pad or finishing pad of some sort, kind of rub it lightly over those edges and see if you can't get those to kind of disappear. So for this bottom piece, I'm going to do the same thing I did on the top, but opposite. I'm just going to roll over instead of under, obviously, with my fingers first. I can take the hook little end on my tool, and I can go over that. Handy dandy, this tool. All right, so now I'm going to just go ahead and apply the rest of this part of the transfer. So I'm going to go this way horizontally with my rubbing. And I'm going to just go up and down. Okay, so we've come to the bottom of the drawer. Okay, so I'm just going to run my fingernail underneath that. Actually, maybe I'll just pull the drawer out here. Ow, let's see if I can pull the drawer out. Well, I can't pull the drawer out right now because I don't have my screwdriver to pull it out. So I'm just going to run my fingernail underneath the edge of it and make sure the transfer is stuck down on the edges before I start pulling off my backing paper. And we got that perfectly lined up at the bottom of the drawer, so it should be all good. Take my little hook, run it along the edge of the drawer, the edge of the bottom edge. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start peeling away my backing paper. I'm going to start down here and just peel slowly up. If anything's not adhering, just rub it down some more, no big deal. And slowly back, slowly peel that back. I'm going to little spot that is being stubborn right there, but we got it. There we go. So this, I'm going to start here on this top seam edge and just rub my finger along it, make sure it's pressed down, nothing is sticking up or bubbled. Then I'm going to continue to burnish the whole transfer with my fingers or my palm for bigger areas is fine. I like to go both ways. And then take my fingers around the edges. You want to make sure it's all down completely. And besides the fact that, you know, the appearance of it, there's also, you know, the fact that if you have bubbles or wrinkles or any air underneath your transfer, that could possibly become a problem later when you seal it and there's air trapped underneath those the transfer, you know, and the air's trying to escape. You could have some problems with your transfer on your piece after, you know, it starts to cure and dry. So it doesn't necessarily happen right away. It could take a week or, you know, a week or so until you start seeing that transfer start peeling up or cracking or, you know, rolling up, peeling away. It's not cool. So take the extra minute to go over it and make sure that everything is really well stuck on there. Okay, so now we can, now that we've got our kind of bulk of our little corner going on there, now we can pick some pieces to cut and chop and fill in the, you know, corners. So you saw all the pieces I have to work with. I like to do as little cutting as possible. So yes, I can and I do sometimes place each individual flower. In this case, what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to find another chunk of the flowers to put right here, another chunk of the flowers to put over here, and then if I want to, I can cut a couple individual flowers that I really like or want to sprinkle on there. Does that make sense? So I'm going to try to fill it in the bulk I'm going to try to fill in the bulk of it and then fine tune it and get it how I want it with, you know, little individual flowers. So that way you're not cutting and placing every single individual flower, because let's face it, you can do that, but let's work smarter, not harder. So I really actually liked the idea of placing this little chunk right here. Okay, so I would like to maybe overlap my text just a little bit, but not completely cover it up. So a little bit of flowers kind of covering the corner of the G and the R or whatever, that's fine. And the way this is configured, you can see I can just kind of barely graze my text. Another option would be to cut out this little guy, which I love. I love that little flower. I can cut him out and save him, and just after I apply this big chunk, just put him wherever I want, wherever I see a little hole or space that could use a little something. That's what I'm going to do with that guy. So I think that's my plan. I'm going to go ahead and cut out my little purple guy here, my little orphan flower. Okay, so I'm gonna make sure that my edge is still pretty natural looking. And oops, I think that did the trick. So now I'm gonna figure out where I want it. Let's just kind of go like this a little bit. Angle it. So I think this is good. Now I wanna figure out where I need to cut it to make it look a little more organic. So I think I'm gonna cut around this bottom little eggplant colored flower here, and then around this weird thing that looks like a bunch of eyeballs, and just kind of cut those flowers out. So I have this big chunk up here. Oh, yeah, I might leave that little white guy there too. But then I'm gonna cut this right here to fit my curve. So first I'm gonna cut out my chunk. My chunk that I know I want to use, I'm going to cut that out and make it look like it was meant to go there, you know? So let's double check and make sure. Yeah, see, look at that. And I already see a spot where I'm gonna add, you know, or an orphan flower where I just want to, you know, add a flower. You know, you'll step back and you'll see, oh man, there's a little empty spot there. It could use a flower. That little chunk is dark. I want to put like a light color flower. And so right here I'm seeing, see all that big chunk of eggplant flowers, flower on flower right there that's really super dark. What I'm going to do is find, you know, a brighter flower, maybe my little guy here that is my favorite. Put him, you know, somewhere in the mix there to break up that big chunk of purple, okay? So let's finish our edge here. Finish cutting it and placing it real quick. Make sure it fits our curve. Perfect, perfect, perfect. That worked out perfect. Okay, so let's go ahead and place this. I'm peeling my backing paper away gently. Gentle, gentle. Don't touch your adhesive. If you can help it, do not touch. Do not touch the adhesive. And don't let it fold on itself either, because then you're ruined. Ruined! All right, so lightly, I'm gonna kind of line this up where I wanted it. I think right there was good. Right there? Right there is good. So let's go ahead and commit to the location, and we're going to go ahead and lay it down now. Lay it down. Rub it on. Now I'm going to take my tool or my stick, whichever is your preference, whichever you have on hand, and I'm going to rub over the entire surface. I like to go both ways, like I said, this way, horizontal, then vertical, horizontal, vertical. Vertical, horizontal. Okay, so now with my sharp knife, I'm going to cut the seam. Carefully cut the seam down the middle. Oop. And then I'm going to roll over my transfer. So it just like spills over the edge of the drawer, but I want to make sure those edges are adhered. So I'm going to, go over it and give it a good rub with my finger. And Make sure it's down, and then I can peel it away. Peel it away. Give it another rub. Make sure that the wrinkles are smoothed out, no bubbles, all that jazz, okay? And then I'm gonna do the same thing up here from the top. I'm gonna roll it under. Roll it under. I'm using my fingernail to kind of press it down to make sure it's gonna adhere. You can use your tool or whatever else. And then I'm just gonna continue to roll, peel my backing paper up gently. So I didn't cut this seam right here with these two little flowers because they're so small. They're so small. I'm just gonna kind of push those in with my fingers and roll them down. If you have to pull the drawer out to secure those, then yeah, fine, do it, do it. So then I'm gonna rub all over my transfer, make sure all the bubbles are out, wrinkles are out, make sure it's secured. Go around the edges with my finger and get those halo lines as gone as I can. And then, so the last thing that I will do before I hop off here is show you, see that little chunk of eggplant right there? Like, it's just too much dark right there for me. Like, it's so dark for me. I want to add a little pop of color in that little area. So I'm going to take, let's take what's left of our transfer and kind of figure out what we want to put right there. I'm thinking, we could do this little chunk of yellow flowers, but I think that this little guy here, my little favorite flower, I think that it's easier to cut out, to just kind of plop in there to add some color. So I'm just gonna cut that little orange, peachy kind of coral flower out. And then we'll give him a home, okay? We'll cut him out, give him a home, and then he'll be happy. All right, so let's kind of pick a location. I'm thinking, I don't want to plop it right in the middle. That seems a little weird. I like to kind of overlap it with other elements. So there's that. There's there. I think, and I like to overlap him on this little guy here. What do you think? Well, look, yeah, yes, no, or should he live with his other friend? I don't know. I think he should live with his other friend, maybe. You know, that sounds like a good location for him. So he's not lonely. We don't want no lonely transfer flowers. All right, so I peeled off the backing paper, and I'm just gonna kind of put him over here with his friend. Plop him right down there. Give it a gentle rub, or you know, gently. You don't want to scratch the rest of your transfer up with your stick, so you just want to be kind of careful. Go around the edges, and then we're going to peel that little paper up, the backing paper off, just like so. Maybe here we go, and boom! Here's my little added flower. You can't tell that he was not even supposed to live there. It's like he was meant to be right here, you know? Easy freaking peasy. So after this, I'm gonna go ahead and bring my flowers out down that way just a little bit, but I showed you the gist of cutting, layering, placing, adding little orphan flowers in. Same work, the same applies if you have made a boo-boo, or you have cracking or wrinkling or cracking or splitting or tears, and you want to mask that. Same process as I did with this little guy here, like a Band-Aid, you know, cut it out and just kind of Band-Aid your little issue there. Works like a charm. Can never really tell when you've had to Band-Aid a piece. So there is that Wondrous Floral. And then again, I'll show you the pretty, pretty butterflies and moths and butterfly dance. Aren't they so pretty? Detailed, realistic, colorful. Let's see if you can see the whole thing from afar. See that? See how I'm balancing out that bottom corner with the flowers? So lots of color on this piece. This is not for people who do not like color, this piece here. So, well, that's all I got. So I should, I'll be back next Thursday at noon EST right here in the Redesign with Prima group to show you some more fun Redesign with Prima things. And I hope you all have a great weekend, and I will see you next week. Bye.